Dr. Sabet, welcome to KTNV.
Thanks for having me.
So I hear you referred to all over the place as public enemy #1 of the legalized marijuana movement. Do you relish that?
I don't know what I think about that. I mean, look, we're just trying to raise awareness about what we think is the next big tobacco, which is what this issue is all about. I don't care if a guy wants to smoke a joint. That's not what this is about at all. It's about rich people getting richer and making money off of addiction. And so, you know, that hurts business for some people and they don't like it.
Why do you think that that is a legitimate analogy to use? I mean,
Yeah.
there is no evidence that marijuana is as addictive as cigarettes
That's
are.
right.
Now, there is a limited amount of research, I acknowledge, on marijuana,
Yeah.
but that's just a scare tactic by you, is it not?
Well, no, it's not at all. First of all, you're right. Tobacco is much more addictive than marijuana. I'm first to acknowledge that. It's more addictive than heroin, for that matter. It's not an argument to make heroin legal. The comparison is about the business structure. This is about an industry that thrives off of downplaying the harms of their substance, targeting kids, and pushing through and basically lobbying against every sensible regulation. And that's what the marijuana industry is doing. It's not about a bunch of hippies who want to smoke marijuana. It's about guys that frankly look like me that I went to grad school with, really young, rich white guys in Wall Street and Silicon Valley that want to get rich. And it's exactly what the tobacco industry did in the 1950s and 60s. And it took our country 100 years to wake up from that. And I was saying, do we want to fall through that trap again? Of course, they're different substances. Yeah.
So I guess the next question is then, why do you hate capitalism so much? I mean, I guess the serious part of that is, so what if people want to make some money off of it? A substance that even you acknowledge is not nearly as harmful as tobacco. And there's a lot of evidence, this is what they would argue on the other side, that it's not nearly as harmful as alcohol.
Well, they're different. First of all, you can drive a car and smoke a cigarette. You can't do that with marijuana. You're impaired. You go to school having just smoked a cigarette, you do that after smoking marijuana, and your brain is much more impaired than with cigarettes. So they're different harms, and I'm not here to litigate the harms of marijuana, actually. That's not what this is about. Why I'm talking about this business issue, and I don't hate capitalism, but why I'm talking about this business issue, just for the record.
You got to that late.
Yeah, I know, I did. Well, you know, Bernie apparently hates capitalism but loves marijuana, so I'm trying to figure out how that works.
There you go.
But the issue is, look, we should at least know what this is about. Question 2 in Nevada is not about adults being able to smoke a joint. If it was, it should be one sentence. Adults can, it is now decriminalized or whatever for adults to smoke marijuana.
It's partly about that, though.
Well, it's mainly about the alcohol and pot. Yeah, of course, you'll be smoking marijuana. But it's mainly about the alcohol and marijuana industries, the medical marijuana industry in Nevada, getting first to license retail sales. This was written literally like in the smoky back room with the execs from the booze industry in the state and the medical marijuana industry.
I was there, so I just got to let people know that what you just said happens to be completely true.
Yeah.
So I think it's the first thing you said that's completely true.
Well, good. We're doing better than usual. But seriously, like, so this is about the industry giving their own kickbacks so that they can get first to, get the licenses to sell pot. And this isn't really about pot, John. This is about pot gummy bears. This is about pot cookies, candies, ice cream, soda, brightly colored things. Dr. Reefer, if we think Dr. Reefer on the highway with the billboard is bad now, wait till you put the lollipop with marijuana on there, which absolutely they will do.
But this specifically prohibits under 21. You know that. Are you
course
saying
it
that's
does.
just a ruse?
Oh yeah, of course it's a ruse. Look, you only make money in the addictive industry by targeting brains that aren't developed yet, so you get the brand loyalty. Those are brains under 25. Yeah, that includes 21 to 25, but of course it includes younger people. And absolutely, the industry, the reason why, look, when they make pot gummy bears, they're not appealing to us. I mean, I don't know the last time you had a gummy bear. I like gummy bears, but they're not appealing to us with the Rocky Road marijuana ice creams and the sour apple suckers that are pots. They're appealing to young people. They want to target them. They want brand loyalty. This is why it's like big tobacco. Again, if it was only about adults smoking marijuana, I don't care. The initiative then would have been 2 lines: adults can smoke pot. That's not what it is. And the other thing it does is weaken the DUI laws, which I think is a big issue as well.
I guess what I'm wondering is why you think that this is going to turn into some corporate scam, that you're gonna that these corporations are going to form, and that it's going to be pernicious for the youth. When so far there's no evidence that's happened. Are you saying they're creating the structure to enable that?
They are creating the structure to enable that, but it's beginning to happen in Colorado, Washington, and throughout the country. When I talk about, I give talks and I ask people to think about who the fastest growing drug dealer is, and I ask for, they say, well, it's a Mexican guy or it's a this guy or that guy, the stereotypes. And I tell them, actually, it's none of those guys. It's the guys in Wall Street right now who are investing tens of millions of dollars in the private investment and private equity to to brand marijuana for it to become a major industry. It's the Silicon Valley billionaires. It's no surprise that the founder of Napster, Sean Parker, the 40-year-old billionaire in California, is bankrolling legalization there. This is about making a lot of money. This isn't about your right to smoke pot. Again, if it was, why wasn't it written in a decriminalization manner? I'm ready to sign support with the yes side on a compromise if they're willing to drop their campaign.
Indeed, your argument has never been that marijuana is a gateway drug. Yeah. You think the war on drugs has been a failure. Yeah. You said all of those things. But again, if marijuana is not that dangerous, if it's not, and I think that's, listen, I think that's a debatable point because there's not as much research into marijuana as there is into other drugs and into alcohol, right? Sure. But all the evidence out there is it's not such an evil drug that you're making it out to be.
Look, it's not reefer madness from the 20s. I'm not making it out to be like that.
You are, though.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is it affects the adolescent brain, and it affects driving, it affects judgment. You know, I don't call marijuana the deadly drug, kind of like we would heroin. I call it the dropout drug. You know, you drop out of life when you're smoking pot every day. You do. You drop out of life. You drop out of your obligations. You drop out of, frankly, work and school. And what they're seeing in states like Colorado and Washington is it's not looking too good right now. There's a massive special interest lobby in Colorado and Washington fighting every single regulation when it comes to labeling or THC content. I mean, we've killed ourselves to try and get them to lower the THC potency. They won't do it because they rely on high potent products for their business line.
You know, it's interesting what you said, though, about someone smoking pot every day and dropping out of life. Are you saying that there is something appreciably different between me going home and having a glass of scotch after work and someone going home and smoking a joint? Is there?
Well, yeah, because first of all, when you drink the alcohol, it's affecting your liver in an acute way, and when you smoke marijuana, it's affecting your lungs in an acute way. There are differences.
That's not what I mean, though.
Okay, you mean harmfulness?
Now you're a doctor.
No. Well,
a different kind of doctor.
Well, I've studied
you're
the
a
neuroscience.
PhD.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I've studied the neuroscience, and I listen to the top doctors. Read the Journal of the American Medical Association, the position of the AMA, every major medical association in this country, the World Health Organization. It's very clear that today's marijuana is not the marijuana that you might have or others might have used back in the day. It is much more powerful because of the genetic breeding techniques. We've become better farmers in this country. You know, Mexican pot used to be the pot that you wanted in the 60s because American pot was really bad. It's the opposite now. You know, made in the USA marijuana has become genetically bred to increase the harmfulness. So I am saying it's harmful. I am actually saying it is harmful, especially for the adolescent brain. But that's a different argument than saying question 2 and legalization, the way it's written, is the way to go. Question 2 is specifically written for the alcohol industry that already makes money off of alcoholics. You know,
they made a deal with them. The legalized pot folks made a deal with them in the legislature. There's no question about that. And one of the things that I think that is borne out by the campaign contributions on the other side and what happened is some of the medical marijuana folks clearly saw this. The medical marijuana, that's great. We can make some money. Right. But once we get legalization on there, that's where the real bonanza comes in.
So they want it to be written in.
So I understand that went on, and I understand the politics of them making a deal with the alcohol industry. I guess what I'm wondering is you helped found this group with Patrick Kennedy, I believe, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Sam, that's who you represent. What is a smart approach?
A smart approach would not criminalize people for simple use. It would not throw them in jail. I mean, I think we don't want to give people prison sentences. It would not hurt their record if they have an arrest when they're 16 because they did the wrong thing and they didn't have a good lawyer and therefore it's on their record so they can't get a job when they're 25. That's stupid, okay? That's not smart. It's also not smart to commercialize marijuana and make it like alcohol and tobacco, which we are struggling with every day. Alcohol and tobacco cost the state $10 for every dollar in revenue. So, you know, it's a net loser, and I think marijuana will be a net loser.
How do you legalize it but not commercialize it? If you legalize it, someone's got to sell it, right?
No.
Okay.
No. You could grow a plant at home, actually.
So this is all home growers.
You could home grow. You could do gifting. You could do a kind of decriminalization where basically we turn the other way when you know, and we have to look at the pros and cons of that. I don't think that's ideal either, but it's certainly better than
the real world, does
it? But it seems better. Well, yeah, because it's better than the real world of billboards, advertisements, TV ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, promoting pot candy to your kids and legitimizing those edible products, which have become, you know, talk to Maureen Dowd, right? I mean, they're very harmful, even to, you know, a 40-some-year-old woman. So, you know, this stuff is harmful, and when it's done in the commercialized manner. So what I would do is emphasize prevention, mental health, early intervention. Look, marijuana is not good for mental health. It is much worse for you than alcohol when it comes to psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. That marijuana hits your brain in certain ways in the parts of the brain, the THC.
Here come the scare tactics again.
No, not scare tactics.
Okay, yeah.
But don't listen to me. Here, listen.
SAM stands for scare about marijuana.
About marijuana. The legalizers are going to love. They're going to quote you on every website for that. So congratulations.
I want to make one thing
Congratulations.
clear. But by the way, no one ever believes me when I said this. I've never smoked marijuana.
Oh, well, good for you.
No, I don't think it's good or bad. I just want you to know that.
I think it's good because that means your brain's intact. I think it's good.
Well, that's
that's
arguable.
debatable.
That's arguable.
But here's the thing. Don't listen to me on this. Actually, you're right. They shouldn't listen to me. Listen to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the American Psychiatric Association, the mental illness advocates, Patrick Kennedy, who's basically risked his familial ties to reveal the amount of mental illness going on in his family. Talk to the people that have been affected. Don't listen to me about it. Listen to the scientists. And again, my argument though isn't even, you don't need to believe marijuana is harmful to think question 2 is bad. I don't care if you believe that or not. Question 2 is just a bad policy.
Well, I am going to listen to you because I have you here, and I want to keep listening to you for a little while longer. And I have another question to ask you. People may or may not know that you've advised 3 presidents on this. You were with the Obama's administration's White House National Drug Control Policy Office, and I saw a quote from you that you said you had a pit in your stomach when they essentially decided we're not going to go after Colorado and other states. Marijuana is a Schedule I drug. It is federally illegal. That's right. Federally illegal to do what Colorado did, to do what Nevada may do. Should that be a deterrent?
Should there be a deterrent for the government to allow? Yeah, well, absolutely. We have a federal law. It's not being enforced. I'm not saying round up the state, auditor and put him in prison. What I'm saying, though, is you could have had warning letters saying, you know what, we don't mind if you decriminalize, because that is legal. You can decriminalize under federal law. The states can't, federal government cannot occupy that field if you want the legalese, right? But the fact that they're doing something expressly against federal law, yes, it's illegal. That's why banks won't touch this. That's why the financial industry is saying, we don't want anything to do with this. And so it's a problem. And I thought it was a bad mistake when in 2013, after I'd left the administration, the decision was we're not going to enforce the law and we'll wait and see what happens. Right now in Colorado, fatal car crashes from recent marijuana use, and don't believe me, believe AAA. They just released a report. AAA, okay? If you trust them to tow your car, trust them that they can do good.
The results in Colorado, I think, along the spectrum have been mixed, I think is a fair way to
Depends on what you're looking at, sure.
Right.
But when you look at youth use, when you look at DUI, and when you look at things like crime, which I'm not saying crime is driven necessarily by this, but it certainly hasn't gone down. I think it's been problematic. And so you're right. Look, we can say this study or that study.
Right.
At the end of the day, the federal government is not monitoring this right now, and I think it's a big mistake. And I think it's because if we switch from policy to politics, from a political point of view, for every single candidate out there, and for this administration, this is kind of a lose-lose issue. It's not something you want to talk about unless you're Bernie Sanders and you want the 18 to 35 vote.
Right.
Other than that, look, this is not popular among Hispanics. Actually, Hispanics are the best ethnic group for the no side. They don't want to see this. They see how this has hurt their communities. They don't want more drugs. Listen, if you are already dealt a bad card in life, how does marijuana help the kid in South Central LA who already isn't going to a good school, who already has a hard time getting a good job? How does the drug that makes you dopey and amotivated, how does that help your kid? It doesn't. Because if the white kid from Beverly Hills is smoking pot, that's probably not as big of an issue. He can get a job from his dad or whatever, and he's going to be fine. This is going to hurt minorities the most. In Colorado, more young Black and Latino kids have been arrested since legalization than before.
You're making Colorado sound like it before legalization. It was this halcyon place, and everyone loved it, a Garden of Eden, and now it's some kind of hellhole.
I'm not saying it's a hellhole. It's a beautiful place, but go to 16th Street Mall. Go to visitdenver.com. The Denver Tourist Bureau says, yeah, we've done surveys, and everyone who comes, not everyone, but the surveys, the majority of people who come to the conventions are saying that public marijuana use, smelling pot everywhere, was a part of their negative experience with Denver coming for. Listen to them. Again, don't listen to me. I'm not saying it. Look, Colorado's a beautiful state. I'm not saying. I'm saying, but but I'm saying that there have been some harms, and we need to watch them.
We have a couple minutes left. I'm just wondering if you're obviously very passionate about this subject, but do you ever feel, based on how attitudes have changed? Look at the Pew.
Sure.
Pew has tracked how attitudes have changed to 20, 30 30 years ago. It's now even slight majorities,
Yeah.
and a lot of polls show they favor legalization. You are swimming against the tide of history, sir.
I don't think so, because let me tell you why. 10% of people smoke marijuana regularly, but 50, like you said, 52, whatever percent it is, have said maybe we should try this. I think when they're informed and when they actually see the consequences and smell pot when they take their kids to the ice cream store, when they see the pot candies and the advertisements, this isn't like alcohol prohibition. Remember, alcohol prohibition didn't work because 70% of people drank. You couldn't criminalize something that most people did. Most people are giving.
You think prohibition works here then?
For the marijuana thing, yeah, I think when it's illegal, fewer people use it. We don't have advertising and promotion. Absolutely, yeah, I do.
We're almost out of time. I want to ask you a final question. How do you beat this? In other words, the Marijuana Policy Project. A lot of these entrepreneurs that you talked about who want to cash in on this have contributed. The initial reports, I think, show more than $1 million raised by the opponents. The Kennedy Foundation. Anybody else coming in with money?
I think people are going to come in. I think we have support from the leadership in the state. From the very top. I think we're going to see that later on.
Brian Sandoval said he's against it, the governor.
Absolutely.
Is he going to really get involved?
We hope so, and we hope others do too. But so I think that when more people hear about what this is about, I mean, the Hispanic in Politics breakfast we did this morning, I'm telling you, half that room was in favor. By the time I left, I had more than 6 or 7 people out of the 30 say, you changed my mind. I didn't know it was about candies. I didn't know the alcohol industry got to go there first. I didn't know it was about advertising, DUI, driving. So the more people hear about this, but you're right, if you don't have the money, you can't get the messages out. So that's going to be a huge concern.
Or you can come on KTNV to get the message out. It's been a
Sounds
pleasure,
good.
Doctor. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
Privilege.